Hello everyone and welcome to some Dark Souls 3 PvP invasion action. The year is 2020 and we are still having this discussion. Dear God. Is it okay to twink in Dark Souls 3? We have talked to death about this in the community over the last 4 years. The merits and objections to low level invasions are now a well-beaten horse. The giblets are strewn across the room at this point. However, I want to have one final word on it, because I've done a complete 180 with my opinion over the last year, and now I can't stand twinks or twink invasions. My reasoning I'll get to in the fullness of time in this video. However, first off I want to try and break down the twink definition, so to speak. Now the problem with the twink discussion is that no one can really define the terms of what one actually is. At what point does a build actually become a twink? Now it's quite a vitriolic subject for most in the Dark Souls community, and people get rather passionate and heated when discussing twinks in Dark Souls 3. Mostly it's one of two camps. You hate twinks, you think they're the worst things ever, or you love twinking and you think it's a necessary evil in order to keep the game balanced at low levels. So there's very little middle ground discussion going on between those two parties because they generally don't get along. So this is an exhaustive list that I've collected over the last 4 years on what attributes could potentially be assigned to a twink character, and these are characteristics that I've gleaned myself from playing the game and what salty losers on Reddit have been posting for the last 4 years. So a twink potentially would have late game weapons, late game rings, min-maxed high absorption armor, high damaging weapons, a high HP pool, max Estus, max Seek Browse and other consumables, a stat efficient build, parry spammer, and also I've been called a twink simply because I'm too tryhard. So twinking isn't really about gear, it's a state of mind, which I'm not entirely on board with, but it's one other suggestion that I've been given. So if a hypothetical player had all these advantages, or utilising all these advantages, none of us would have any issue with calling that character twinked out. I think we can all agree on that. However, if we start to remove each of these advantages in different combinations, at what point does the twink die out and it becomes a non-twink invader? Now that's where most people find it very hard to define, because it's not any individual one of those points. It is a mixture of all of them together, some of them more than others. And again, a lot of the previous points are quite ill-defined. So, for example, at what point is a piece of equipment considered late game? Can the Ashes Variandel be considered late game, even though it's accessible for the First Lord of Cinder? Because you get a lot of good equipment in there. You get the milled great bow, Ethereal Oak Shield, Follower's Saber, the milled armor, which is good for min-maxing. They can all be reached without facing a single boss. So it does say on a message in front of Ashes of Arendelle, you should only do it, attempt it if you've beaten Lothric Castle, but there's nothing stopping you doing it. So is that late game or not? Also, we could go one step further and say that Drake Heap or Ring City is late game. Can we say that's late game? Because again, you can access it before you've even beaten the Abyss Watchers if you're good enough. And you can beat Freed. You can then have access to all the level 2 rings and, Fat +3, Chloranthy +3, all that good stuff before you've even beaten the First Lord of Cinder. But again, you'd be hard pressed to find a player who was willing to brave that fight. But it is still technically possible. So most of what you can be considered meta weapons are typically accessed early to mid game, for low level invasions that is. Dark Hand you can get before Abyss Watchers because you just need Yoel of Londor's quest to complete. You can get the Dragon Slayer Axe in Irithyll, which I don't consider late game. So the only redeeming features of those weapons, however, is their damage, and everything else about them is mediocre at best. As many people have pointed out, you can buff a Raw Longsword +3 with the charcoal pine bundle, which are all items you can get or buy by the end of the second area. You get an AR of about 307, which has a substantially better move set, and will completely run rings around the Dragon Slayer axe every time. The only reason why the Dragon Slayer axe is still in circulation for Twinks is that when it's combined with a gigantic health pool, it becomes really dangerous. It won't matter if he misses 9 times out of 10. When he does hit, he's just going to shred your HP. And we kind of come to the nub of the issue. It's not so much the gear that people are using, it's the individual weapons, the armor rings don't make a twink. It's when everything's combined together to increase the player's health pool. That's what makes them dangerous and irks people. So I ran the numbers, and if you're a knight starting class, put all available points into vigor up to soul level 30, combine it with prisoner's chain, fat plus 3, life plus 3, you get an unlimited health pool of 1349. Now you add on your 7 max Estus that an invader has, 10 Seek Brows, 1 Divine Blessing, your total health pool comes to approximately 10,600 HP. And when your deep battle axe does about 60 damage per swing, you would have to hit said invader 177 times before he dies. So the argument inevitably swings at this point to, you know, I need to do this in order to stay competitive so I can fight the other Twinks and the password summon phantoms and the other, you know, Twinking hosts. And yeah, that is technically true, but I've come to the point now where fighting those kinds of players is equivalent to shoving pencils up your dick hole, where it's painful. You can get good at it. You can get really fucking good at shoving things up your dick hole to the point where you could be considered the best guy who can shove pencils up their dick. But ultimately, what's the point? It's going to be a painful process, and you're just going to look like a guy with a pen still shoved up his dick. Like, there's no point to it. It's just the worst. It's like literally like banging your head against a brick wall fighting Twinking hosts and the really horrible password phantoms. So you know what the best way to fight those kinds of players are? You don't fight them. You fucking leave, you block them, and then you move on with your life, fight another invasion. That's fun. And then you don't need to twink, surely. It's not really about fight. It was never really about fighting with password summons and the, you know, the Twinking hosts and stuff. It was about wanting to win. It was never about that. So now we come to the reason why I've found myself with such a disdain for Twinking and Twink invasions in 2020. Now, as I'm sure everyone is aware, the player base has shrunk and diminished significantly over the last 4 years, you know, as you'd expect. So the players playing generally fall into kind of 3 categories. You have the absolute newbies who have just bought the game on sale on Steam or PlayStation Network, and they're playing it for the first time, have no idea what they're doing, and are basically like lambs to a slaughter. You have the intermediate guys who are maybe playing it for the first or second time, playing it through with their friends and having a jolly good time. And then you have the third, frothing at the mouth, you know, veterans of the game who know the ins and outs of everything, know the PvE off by heart, and have exceptional PvP skills. Now, my problem with Twinking comes to this. With the newbie hosts, the little baby lambs to the slaughter, they're going to die either way. Like, you're just going to absolutely trolley them, regardless of, you know, whether you're Twinking or not. And that's not really that fun. The fighting the PvP meta twink lords, that isn't fun either, because whether you're drinking or not, that is a fucking uphill battle, because you're basically hitting each other with paper napkins until you can just... It's just a battle of attrition at that point. It's not really about skill, it's about attrition and who can survive and weather the most blows. And it just becomes so fucking tedious. Even Twinking, fighting those players is just the worst. You know the ones I mean, the ones that hang out in the Farron Swamp, with their 15 Esters. They've beaten the game. They've gone to New Game Plus, got their 15 Esters, got their unlimited Siegs and Divine Blessings, and they just wait for invaders to come and fucking trolley them. They're not fun to fight Twink on Twink. Now, the middle ground, the middle players, now this is where things get interesting. So as a Twink invader against those moderate players, you will just absolutely ruffle stomp them. Like, you have near unlimited HP, and they can do absolutely nothing. They can do nothing but tickle you as you like completely out damage and out survive everything that they can throw at you. Now, if you're playing that as a non-Twink invader, then invasions suddenly become a lot more interesting, and these are the invasions that I'm actively seeking out when I'm playing this game now. I will go out of my way to avoid the Twinking Meta Lords and the baby newbie hosts, because neither of those are particularly fun for me, and I don't get anything out of them. However, it's the middle ground invasions where I feel like I can get back into enjoying this game again, and I really am. And all the invasions you're seeing here are non-Twink, Soul level 20, and in a little bit Soul level 30 as well. You can have so much fun, and you can have so much flexibility and variety with your build without having to resort to bullying, effectively bullying players with an unkillable character. It's so much more fun. Those middle ground invasions become so much more viable and so much more engaging. If you just it's like becoming an adult, actually. When I became an adult, sort of in my mid-20s, and you start to realise you don't have to hang around with certain people that you don't enjoy. Like, when you're in school or in college, you're stuck with that peer group by, design. You're stuck with that group of friends, and you can't really do anything about it. But when you grow up, you realise you can say, hey, I don't like this guy, I'm not going to hang out with them anymore. So that's kind of what happens with the Dark Souls 3 invasions. I don't like fighting PvP Metalogs. I don't enjoy watching people troll me because I can't kill them. So I'm just not going to engage with it, and you're just going to go find people that you like-minded individuals that enjoy this game as much as you do. Rant over. No, I'm not saying that you should stop playing the game the way you want to play it. Far be it from me telling people how to have fun in this game. I know my opinion doesn't count for much in this community, which is absolutely fine. I just can't stand it anymore. So I want to just talk a little bit about the build that I'm running at the moment and the one you'll see in a minute, and just discuss with you what I've done with it, and sort of, the stuff that I've afforded myself to, be a non-Twink invader, but still have, a fighting chance against those players. So this guy, I initially started this character to use the Brigand Twin Daggers. I wanted to give those a go in PvP because I'd used them once and they were a lot of fun. But in 1v1s, they're not that bad. In invasions, they're absolutely atrocious. I tried to do the Farron Wolfsword backpack and the Pontify rings and stuff to try and do that, but that was absolutely atrocious. You still do shit for damage, and it's crap. You have no stopping power whatsoever. So I went to try out the longsword rapier combo that I've seen a lot of people using nowadays, and this is really fucking fun. Like, the pokey of the rapier combos into the swipe of the straight sword, so you can get some nice pseudo combos going. You see earlier the one pseudo combo I was running, where you poke with the rapier, swipe with the sword, then you go strong attack, and the strong attack of the longsword then combos into the second strong attack of the longsword. So sometimes you can get a good 4-hit combo on with that with this weapon setup. And having the parry in the left hand is just excellent, because no one sees it coming. No one ever expects a rapier parry from you. It's excellent fun. So the one thing that I've afforded myself with these builds is the Prisoner's Chain. So you can call me a hypocrite all you like, I don't give a shit. You can get the Prisoner's Chain before you've beaten the Abyss Watchers. Dancer and Cyrus and Gundyr are not hard for me. I find those incredibly easy. Gundyr especially. So realistically, you can get Prisoner's Chain early game. that's what I've afforded myself. Everything else, I think this guy's got the 2 Lloyd's rings and Chloranthe plus 0 as my ring setup. And the other guy is the same. He's got Prisoner's Chain, but then he's got like Sorig's ring and Chloranthe and a Stoneplate ring or something on there. And honestly, I find that my win rate stays pretty similar to what it was when I was twinking. Looking back over some of my older videos and stuff, and thinking back to the time when I was twinking the fuck out with all my characters, you know, like I said, I avoid the active tryhard gangs in the forest now. So take those out, and my win ratio is still about the same. I still win a decent amount of invasions, and I still get unlucky and get absolutely trolleyed a decent amount as well. So it's not an absolute. Not having max Estus is not a death sentence, people. You don't need to have 7+10 Estus in order to win all your invasions. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, my God, like you see all the people running, all the weapons you see people running in the Farron Swamp. Going back to this weapon discussion again, they're all early game weapons. Like the Gru Curve Sword that Sticky Bandit coined, that is early game as well, because poison is a great early game stat advantage, because against a lot of PvE players they don't carry Moss Clumps. So that's a fantastic weapon. Would people call that twinking? No, absolutely fucking not. Sorry, it's got me in a ranty mood. So this is my Soul Level 30 character. I've had this chap running around for a while, and one of the weapons he uses is a Royal Scimitar. Run-of-the-mill Royal Scimitar. And I think it was I Am Amish and Mocha Latte, they did a dried finger run a little while back. I think it was last year sometime. Unfortunately I wasn't able to catch it, but I was able to catch snippets of it, and you know, through hearing it through the grapevine, they were able to hold a lot of the invaders at bay, all the Twinkie invaders, with nothing but scimitars. Run of the mill, buy it at the start of the game, don't even have to start the fucking game, scimitar. Like, it's not the weapons that make the twink dangerous. It is the survivability of the twink, as I've said before. So, I hope you all enjoy the rest of the invasions. I'll stop talking now, I don't have much else to say. Give it a go. Try and make a character. Go all the way up to Abyss Watchers. Leave the Abyss Watchers alive. And see what stuff you can pick up along the way, and see what builds you can come up with. You'll be pleasantly surprised with how well you can do with those fights with using nothing but equipment from before Abyss Watchers. Right. Thanks for listening, guys, and have a pleasant day.